So the ecosystem is made of the smallest of organism to the biggest one. So I repeat, the ecosystem is made of the smallest of organism to the largest one. It's a symbiotic relation between every. If the smallest organism is not there, the ecosystem will collapse. If the largest one is there, then the ecosystem thrives because it gets protection. So we have evolved, as life is evolved on the planet, to be symbiotic, to live together, to benefit each other.
Happiness to me is as close as the closest nature aquarium. I've said this, not some great man, me. But to get the inspiration for a beautiful aquascape or a nature aquarium, you have to come into nature. Okay, you have to live this, you have to experience it, you have to feel it. Unless that happens, an aquascape or a nature aquarium doesn't bring out the beauty. Today we are in Bandhavgarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh, and I was given this amazing opportunity to do this wildlife ride and experience, or the safari, with India's best wildlife filmmaker, Mr. Sumesh Lekhi. He's got many movies that he's released and a whole lot of awards that has been bestowed upon him from international organizations for his movies, of course. So I'm actually here to learn from Sumesh what it means to understand nature, what it means to really take this essence and take it back home. Okay, learn about a lot of things, small aspects that make this whole ecosystem unique. So in this video today, not only are you going to see beautiful images and aspects of the wildlife in our country, we're also going to talk to Sumesh Lekhi about what it means to be a wildlife filmmaker, aspects of wildlife filmmaking, aspects of wildlife photography, aspects of nature conservation, and a lot more. The conversation is going to be really, really interesting. So stay with us, be with us, watch till the end. So, see, how important is tourism? Okay, because see, not all of them are quintessential tourists or wildlife people. Because they come, they're noisy, and we know it's disturbance to the animals. But still, tourism is important. So, how important is tourism, and how does it affect the animal, like the tiger? Or, there are instances when we see that there are about 5-8 jeeps and the tiger is sitting there. What is the tiger thinking? That's something that's always been on my mind. So, two questions. How important is tourism? And what is in the tiger's mind when she sees all these 14 jeeps, 15 jeeps?
Right. So when it comes to tourism, I think tourism is an extremely important part of modern conservation, because tourism supports it supports the park, it gives the forest department revenue, it gets revenue for the local people who live around. Earlier, a lot of humans living around these forests depended on the forest, to pick up forest produce and take it back to the villages. You're talking about mahua, you're talking about even, to make beedis, that the leaf. So people depended on the forests earlier. But with the tourism, what is happening is revenue is coming in for the local people. So they have a way of having a stake. They have a stake now in the forest. If they protect the forest, more tourists will come. If the tigers are protected, more tourists will come. So tourism is a very important aspect. That's A. B. Tourism in a way educates people. Like, we think of tourists as noisy, and we think of tourists as sometimes creating a ruckus in the jungle. But I have seen so many of the tourists itself later on coming on their own and becoming passionate wildlifers or becoming passionate photographers in that sense, and coming back into the forest and once again contributing to the economy. That child who's making noise in the car or in the jeep is a potential protector of the wildlife in the future. We've all started very often. I remember earlier when I used to come, and I didn't have kids then, my kids were not born. I would say, kids are, I would just maybe smile when a kid started crying or something. I always found it cute, let's put it that way. But when my children were born, my son Vihan has come to the jungle at the age of 2.5 months first. And second trip was 7 months when his neck also is not steady. But the amount of passion and the passion he has for wildlife, he's not purely a wildlifer at this point, but he's passionate for adventure. Wildlife, adventure, trekking, and he's completely fearless. Fearless about everything, about no fear for heights, touch wood. Like he can do a lot of activities, doesn't fear insects, doesn't fear the dark. So a lot of aspects of my children, what I see, have been developed because they've been traveling with me in the jungle. And people always have this concept. I have shot Emerald Forest, I've been shooting in Tadoba in the peak of summer. I mean, you're talking about June, and temperatures have been beyond 45 and 48 degrees. And the kids, our kids were comfortable. Rashmi was there, I was there, my wife Rashmi. And they're comfortable, no complaints, enjoying themselves. So it's amazing. I do feel, even I was exposed as a child to wildlife and nature because of my father. My father was exposed too. So this is a very important aspect. At some point, you never know which kid becomes an IAS officer or which kid becomes an MLA or an MP. And one day, he's the one who will go and sign that document which says that this forest has to be protected. Or he's a kid who will say that this buffer area should become a core or this village should be removed. We need to sensitize people, and tourism is a very important aspect of it. People have to come in. See, when tourists come in, tourists are like 50 patrolling teams. You have a forest, one patrolling jeep going around. Tourists are like 50 patrolling jeeps. Tourists have to come in the jungle. Coming to tigers. I mean, tigers, we just look at animals. For a human being and animal, all tigers look the same. We don't realize that I can have a different personality, you can have a different personality. Why can't a tiger think differently? Like in my experience, some tigers, koi tigers, they come 8, 8:30 baje aayenge bahar savere. Koi 7:30 baje aayenge. Unka habit hai. Even tigers have habit. Each tiger has a habit, what the tiger does. So when I see that a lot of tigers which are not habituated to humans in areas like Panna Tiger Reserve and elsewhere, also because of the radio collaring and everything, they are much shyer. You know, we are in Bandhavgarh right now. There are tigers who are more human friendly. They draw in the tourists, but definitely their rules have to be there. Gypsy distance has to be maintained, you know, from the tiger. Yeah, there are situations. I mean, you have parked and the tiger decides to pass and go by. You know, at that point, sometimes I feel that at that point you should stay put. Like I remember an incident. I was in Tadoba, and we were sitting. We were 3 of us, and this dominant male tiger came walking towards us. And for that time, my conservation friends got ruffled, and I had my hand on both the shoulders. I said, "Relax, don't move." I told the driver, "Don't move." Matkasur came. He looked, sniffed, and he just, you know, with a heavy, he walked and he went past. That was one incident. And then there was an incident with a tigress called Jharni in Tadoba, which you were also part of. Yeah. So that tigress was not seen for almost 4 months. And when she's seen, she is known to charge the vehicle. And charging is the process where the vehicle moves, the tigress is running sometimes. I've seen that thing happening. But if you were there, in 40 minutes we suddenly stopped the jeep somewhere. There was a hunch the tiger could be here, she had not been seen, and she charged towards us. But we remained calm, we stood our ground. She went back, checked on her cubs, and she once again came out. She stalked us, but we relaxed. The driver relaxed, the guide relaxed, we relaxed. She saw, and initially she was very aggressive and upset. But you know, like when a tiger just gives a growl, and after a while it's like a little bit more yawny. Okay, I don't think there's no harm from these guys. And what is the cost-benefit ratio of, you know, even coming all the way forward? And so she came, she looked at us, she was relaxed, and she's okay, it's fine. And then she went back. So there are certain jeep etiquettes we should follow. The guides, the naturalists and the drivers have experience over there. Tigers are they are aggressive. Tigers are the apex predators. We have to respect their domain. Guides and drivers have to respect their domain. They are not, you know, domesticated or something. We have to maintain the space, we have to maintain, and each tiger has a different personality. The guides and drivers should know about that personality. This tiger can charge, this tiger cannot charge. But generally, 98-99% of the time, tigers will just go about doing their things. As far as tiger behavior is concerned, I do see to some extent that it's amazing. I mean, I have seen tigers using gypsies as a cover before hunting.
We've both seen,
yeah. And I have seen, I mean, in my experience, especially in Tadoba, while filming tigers, and recently in Panna, I have realized that the tigress, जब tigress जाती है, तो कितनी बार जिप्सी के सामने बच्चों को छोड़ के जाती है. क्योंकि male tiger तो इतना शायद, male tiger will not come. Generally, male tigers alien male tigers will not come. Matkasur may come, or maybe Mahaman tiger, he will come because he's used to gypsies, plus he's used to the people. But an alien tiger is very rare for the alien tiger to come in that particular area. So Maya also has left her cubs so often in front of a gypsy and gone. कि gypsy है, हमारे cubs सुरक्षा है, सुरक्षित है. And Chota Matka, Tarachand, we've seen these two tigers. We follow them from birth. Again in Tadoba, wherever a gypsy used to stand, they used to come and sit over there. There's a gupshup kaise, they used to come and stand there. So there is a comfort level, safety. But again, one thing, there should not be too much familiarity. Ultimately, they are wild animals. They should not get too familiar with human beings. They should not approach human beings. That has to be avoided at all costs. Yeah, so there is a price to pay. But I think in modern conservation, we cannot do without tourism. I mean, after all, we do cross roads and in our cities, we do take flights, there are risks involved. So even for wild animals, as much as we feel that tourism disturbs them to some extent, but it's an essential part of the conservation process. Even for the forest department during the monsoon months when the jungle is shut for tourism, they all on tenterhooks because tourists alert. When we go back, we fill a register with sighting. हमने आज ये tiger देखा, हमने इतना leopard देखा. We have seen so many sloth there. We go and fill register. So that is a way. We are the eyes in the forests. Tourists are the eyes in the forests. Elephants have been an integral part of the conservation process in Madhya Pradesh. Even the reintroduction of tigers in Panna Tiger Reserve. Even as Mr. Multi said in our interview in Emerald Forest, that because the elephants, because of the varied landscape, they were able to go into the gorges, into the ravines, into the valleys, and look for the tigers, especially when the tigers could not be seen through radio collaring. So even a lot of the elephants, if you look at Panna and all in the elephant camps, have been looked after well. As much as we feel that captive elephants should not be used for human conservation, but the forest department truly feels that they have been of a great help to the conservation process. What a beautiful animal this is. And in fact, recently almost 100 elephants now have made Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve their home. They have come from the Sarguja, Chhattisgarh side, they have come into Bandhavgarh, and I think it is quite gracious for Madhya Pradesh and for Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve to have accepted these elephants, because a lot of the non-elephant states have been, I would say, infamous, you can say, though there is a man-animal conflict, for capturing wild elephants which come into their forests and sending them back to forests where they came from, or then taming them, or or utilizing them. But Madhya Pradesh has allowed almost 100 wild elephants to continue living in Bandhavgarh. Hopefully the elephants settle down, the man-elephant conflict to some extent which is there reduces. Hope everything goes fine.
So Sumesh, today, there are a lot of opportunities for children, and a lot of people I meet, they ये इच्छा जाहिर करते हैं कि वाइल्ड लाइफ फिल्म मेकर बनाना है, वाइल्ड लाइफ फोटोग्राफर बनाना है.
Right.
उनके लिए अगर आप 5 चीज, quick 5 points, if you tell them, so they're watching, and what is it that they should look forward to?
Okay.
आप बताइए.
So there are actually, let's put it in 2 ways. So A is that they like wildlife. So that's an opportunity for them to spend time in the jungle, right? That's one thing. B is they like cinematography. So I would like to say at the outset that wildlife cinematography or being a wildlife filmmaker is a very, very difficult and a tough profession. So the first start has to be that you like wildlife, or you enjoy being in forests in solitude for many, many hours, sometimes many, many days, even months. So if that's the start you want to do, and understand that it is not going to be a paying profession, or it's not going to be the glamour which you generally see on social media. It's not going to be all that. If it is what cinematography you want to do, then definitely, and there are other options. Bollywood is there, television is there, OTT platforms have come up. So that's my first suggestion to anybody who wants to be a wildlife filmmaker. First, really understand whether it is that is what you're passionate about. It will be many years of learning the field craft. I mean, wildlife filmmaking starts with learning field craft first, about how to come into the jungle, learning from a mentor probably how to, what kind of species to cover and what habitat the species lives in, what kind of camera setup is required to cover that kind of species, what kind of lighting, because this is all natural lighting. There is no, a lot of cinematographers I come across have learnt to work around artificial lighting. This is natural lighting. For example, when I film completely on manual exposure. So every aspect of the exposure is adjusted, including ISO on location. So for tiger, let's say a tiger is moving, it goes from a shaded area to a brighter area and back to a shaded area. It's all manually exposed. We do that because we don't want the hunt or the jump in the exposure. So you have to understand it's a very trying field. So I spoke about exposure over there. Secondly, coming to manual focusing. So in wildlife filmmaking, at least when I am making wildlife films, I am constantly manually focusing. So if a tiger is, say, coming from the front walking towards you, you are at the same time focusing and you're zooming in and zooming out in case you have a telephoto lens. If you have fixed lens, then that doesn't come in the picture, but you're manually focusing. So you got to almost tie up your right hand literally and learn to work with your left hand. You're in a situation, imagine you're waiting for 15 days and you've not got a single tiger shot. And the tiger comes out for 20 seconds and just passes by. Now that's the shot you're waiting for. Or let's say you're shooting and there's a gorge and the tiger comes out. Now that is the level of expertise you need. That's the level of patience, number one. And number two, when the action happens, there's not going to be any action replay. You've got to be willing to have prepared yourself, to have done field craft dedicatedly, whether you're doing it in your cities where you're from or towns or villages. But when you come to the jungle, so why I'm giving this backdrop? Once you're willing to do all these things, actually be in a rigorous situation where you're getting up at 4 in the morning, you're handling equipment, you've done data transfer the previous evening, you've charged probably 8-10 batteries of your cameras, memory cards have been emptied into your hard disk, various copies have been made, you've checked your hard disk, so those copies have gone into all the mirrored and all your hard disks. So this is the whole wildlife filming process to a great extent. If you're willing to do all these things, that's the first step you take towards wildlife filmmaking. So a great way of starting is photography itself. Camera, your mobile camera. I mean, start with your mobile camera. Start with basic equipment. Take a DSLR. Nowadays, you get much lighter mirrorless options. Also, start photography. Start working with cameras but I suggest that try to learn more of manual work, manual exposure, manual focus. Start composing shots. Then gradually go into videography. See, the videography, the challenge is as the animal moves, the lighting condition changes, the focus changes. That's so important that you need to learn everything. You need the camera to be, or your mobile phone to be an extension of your own self. What do you think should translate into your camera? So that's a great way of starting. Now coming back to the commercial aspect. So there are a lot of commercial options today. You can tie up with so many of the channels. You can, first of all, start, I think it's very important to learn under a mentor. See who they are working under, who they are tying up with. Very often or not, through the mentor itself, you can do much more work because a lot of the mentors today are production houses. So they need cinematographers, they need editors. In India, I see today that maybe there are budding editors, but there's a great space in post-production also. Editing is there, there's shot division, editing, color grading, DI. There's a huge opportunity there also. So there I feel that gap can be definitely filled. And so when you work with a mentor, when you work with a production company, that's what you can begin doing. You can look at the aspect which you enjoy the most. Maybe you just want to write script. Maybe you write very well and you realize, I would like to be part of the script writing process. You go to the jungle along with the team and you start writing the script there and then you start framing the broad structure of how you want the script to be. So there are many aspects of filmmaking one can decide, and wildlife, especially in the Indian context, is a very well loved and well watched kind of genre. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, but it's very important to start with the mentor and go with the flow of the mentor. And it's a very small niche, wildlife. It's not like Bollywood or television where you have maybe 50 production houses. So wildlife is a small niche. You need to learn to be patient. You need to learn to be willing to learn. That's the biggest thing. Learn to be willing to learn. Keep your mind open, because a lot of the mentors out there have spent maybe 20 years, 25 years in the field filming. They know exactly, all the rigors. So you may need to get up at 4 in the morning. You may need to go without your your morning cup of tea. You never know, no, what the rigors are on the field. You may be having breakfast and suddenly you get you come to know there's an alarm call. You got to get ready with the equipment. So traditional life, filmmaking life is different, and wildlife filmmaking is different. So you need to get used to the rigors of it.
That's really, really interesting and very insightful. I'm sure, the budding wildlife enthusiasts and whoever's interested would really, be interested in the whole journey, and hope we see a lot more movies coming up there.
Yeah, look forward sharing with you all, with people.
ये जो आप एक ट्री देख रहे हैं, इसका नाम है, हिंदी में इसको पीपल ट्री बोलते हैं। सबसे ज़्यादा ऑक्सीजन देने वाला ये पेड़ है, और इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं फाइकस लियोजोसा के नाम से जानते हैं। और ये सबसे बड़ा पूजनीय पेड़ है। इसको हम भगवान विष्णु के रूप में ही देखते हैं, क्योंकि इसमें हम जल चढ़ाते हैं। और कुछ हमारे यहाँ प्रथा भी हैं, जो हम यहाँ की महिलाएं हैं, इनमें एक फेरी मारती हैं धागा बांध के अपने पति के जीवन यापन के लिए, लंबी उम्र के लिए। तो ये बहुत बड़ा ये पूजनीय पेड़ है, पीपल फाइकस लियोजोसा के नाम से जाना जाता है। इसके जो फ्रूट हैं, इसको हमारे यहाँ ग्रे हॉर्नबिल, मालाबार पाइड हॉर्नबिल और बारबेट, कपर स्मिथ, छोटे छोटे सभी बर्ड्स इस ट्री के फ्रूट को खाना पसंद करते हैं।
एक जंगल सफारी ना एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम के बिना नहीं होता है। जैसे फॉरेस्ट के लोग हैं, फॉरेस्ट गार्ड्स है, मोर इम्पॉर्टेंटली आपके साथ जो गाड़ी में बैठ के आते हैं, ड्राइवर या ऑर्गेनाइजर एंड नेचुरलिस्ट या गाइड, इन लोगों का आपके साथ होना बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। बिकॉज उनको मालूम है जंगल के बारे में, उनको सब चीज़ मालूम होता है कि कौन सा शेर कहाँ से जा रहा है, कहाँ कौन से एरिया में वल्चर्स होते हैं, कौन से एरिया में अच्छे बर्ड्स होते हैं, कौन से एरिया में रेप्टाइल्स होते हैं। तो वेन एवर यू टेक अस जंगल सफारी, ओके, मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप पहले उनसे बात करें, उनके एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में जानिए, एंड यू टेक इट फॉरवर्ड फ्रॉम देयर। तो मंजीत जी, आपको क्यों लगा कि फॉरेस्ट में नेचुरलिस्ट बनना है? मजबूरी था या ऐसा कुछ था?
सर, इंटरेस्ट था वाइल्ड लाइफ में, तो हमने ज्वाइन किया और पढ़ते भी थे, और यहाँ भी जंगल में थोड़ा बहुत काम करते थे।
तो आपने क्या पढ़ाई की?
हम बीए तक किए हैं।
एंड आपने बोला कुछ 17-18 साल हुआ।
हाँ।
तो आप एक ऐसा मौका बताइए जहाँ पे आपको लगा कि यार इसलिए मैंने ये काम कर ली, कि मैं ऐसा एक दृश्य हुआ या कुछ देखा आपने और फिर लगा कि मेरा जिंदगी सफल हो गई।
हमको सर ज़्यादातर हमारे जैसे घर में है, तो हमको जो पेड़ पौधे हैं उनसे बहुत लगाव था। पेड़ों को लगाना, उनमें पानी डालना, जंगल के प्रति, बर्ड्स के प्रति काफ़ी लगाव था, इंटरेस्ट था, तो इसलिए मैंने ये काम किया हो।
हाँ, ऐसा कोई दृश्य आपने देखा और आपको लगा कि जिंदगी सफल हो गई जंगल के अंदर?
जंगल में क्या है सर, एक तो घूमने में और वातावरण, इन्वायरमेंट, बर्ड्स, एनिमल्स, माउंटेन्स, ये सब देख के एक अद्भुत सा महसूस होता है और अच्छा लगता है जंगल के अंदर घूमने और पर्यटकों को घुमाने में।
तो थैंक यू सो मच मंजीत जी, आप हमारे साथ 3-4 दिन गुजारे और आपका इन्फॉर्मेशन बहुत ज़्यादा है, पेड़ों में, पत्तियों में, बर्ड्स पे, एंड हर चीज़ के बारे में आपके पास जवाब है और आप सब जानते हो। तो हमारा ट्रिप बहुत सफल हुआ आपकी वजह से।
थैंक यू सर, वेलकम।
सुनील जी से बात करेंगे। सुनील।
हाय सर।
ये एक्चुअली यहाँ पे ड्राइविंग करते हैं, लेकिन मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि ये ऑर्गेनाइजर है, ऑल इन वन।
थैंक यू सर।
सुनील, आपको कितना साल हुआ यहाँ?
मैंने सर फर्स्ट काम स्टार्ट किया 2008 से।
सुनील बहुत ही सीरियस है, हंसते नहीं है। हाँ, थैंक यू सुनील। अब बताइए।
तो मैंने 2008 से स्टार्ट किया सर। मैंने फर्स्ट टाइगर B2 को देखा यहाँ पे, जहाँ पे अभी पीछे आप वो कर रहे थे चक्रधरा मेडो, वहाँ पे मैंने B2 को फर्स्ट टाइगर देखा।
तो वो आपका इंस्पायरिंग मोमेंट था?
हाँ, बहुत अच्छा शॉट था वहाँ पे।
मेरे को यही करना है।
जी हाँ, जी हाँ। उसके बाद सेकंड टाइगर मैंने चक्रधरा फीमेल और बच्चों के साथ देखा। उस समय बांधवगढ़ फोर्ट भी चालू हुआ करता था।
Awesome. So again, thank you so much सुनील।
वेलकम सर।
Thank you very much. Okay. आते रहेंगे और
जी,
मिलते
जी।
रहेंगे, और आप और मंजीत जी, आप टूरिस्ट को गाइड करते रहिए। जी। एंड इंस्पायर करते रहिए।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सो मच। तो ये आपने देखा पार्ट 2, ओके। एंड इसमें आपने देखा कि कंजर्वेशन कैसे होता है। कंजर्वेशन स्टार्ट्स एट होम, घर में कंजर्वेशन होना चाहिए, ये बहुत ज़रूरी बात है। एंड आपने ये भी सीखा कि अगर आपको वाइल्ड लाइफ फिल्मिंग में इंटरेस्ट है या वाइल्ड लाइफ फोटोग्राफी में इंटरेस्ट है तो क्या करना चाहिए, कैसा करना चाहिए। आगे आप देखिए पार्ट 3, बहुत ही मज़ेदार वीडियो है, स्टनिंग लोकेशन है, यूनिक लोकेशन है। ये लोकेशन में वीडियोस बने ही नहीं है एक्चुअली, ठीक है, इंडिया में तो नहीं बने। ब्यूटीफुल लोकेशन, मज़ा लेना, बहुत मज़ा आएगा, मिस मत करना। एंड कॉन्वर्जेशन और भी इंटरेस्टिंग है, ठीक है। तो हमेशा की तरह मैं आशा करता हूँ कि ये वीडियो में आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बातें समझने को मिला। एंड मेरे तरफ से, कैमरामैन सुबिन की तरफ से आप सबको थैंक यू, नमस्ते, खुदा हाफिज़, शबा खैर एंड सत श्री अकाल। पार्ट 3 मिस मत करना, बहुत मज़ा आने वाला है, ठीक है, बाय।